Joining me now with a look at the highlights of this session at the UN General Assembly is Lori Handrahan, a UN consultant. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Let's look first at the Syria resolution in the Security Council. It was passed. The United States is calling it a diplomatic triumph. Everybody's patting each other on the back. What did it achieve?
I think it achieved absolutely nothing. I don't think it was a success at all. I think it was submission. It didn't include the use of force. So basically, I think it was another public relations move to make it appear that Obama's had a successful foreign policy in Syria when he has not.
But if that clause about the use of force was inserted into that resolution, it wouldn't have passed.
Right. There you go. So where's the success? I mean, you're dealing with a dictator who is now considered among the ranks of Pol Pot.
Well, wouldn't those who support the resolution say that, look, we've got to the point now where we've got Syria to admit, A, it's got chemical weapons, and B, we've got them to agree to get rid of it.
The situation in Syria is so bad that the use of chemical weapons is the least of the problems, and there's no other place on earth that you can say that. You have a government run by Assad who is bombing his population on average of 115 times a month. The civilian population is under massive siege. We have not seen this kind of humanitarian disaster brought by a president of a country on his own population since the end of World War II. It is the largest humanitarian disaster in the world since World War II. I think what's interesting today is that today, 75 years ago, Neville Chamberlain, who was the Prime Minister of Britain at the time, had an appeasement foreign policy with Hitler and signed, September 29th, 1938, signed the Munich Pact and gave away part of Czechoslovakia to Hitler. And he said it was for peace in our time. And I see what happened at the UN in a similar way. Obama and people are saying it's for peace in our time. We know what happened. Hitler invaded Poland right after that.
Okay, but wasn't the president's hands tied by the fact that there was massive public opinion against any kind of involvement, that is, military involvement in Syria?
Because the president has done absolutely no public relations with his own population about the genocide that is happening in Syria. The network news in America gave Assad, who is a brutal dictator launching a genocide in his own population, massive airtime over the past few weeks. What we're not seeing, what the American public is not seeing, is the rape of small children, the rape of women, the rape of men, 3 million refugees on the run. I mean, over 100,000 people dead, mass graves, cities, Aleppo's completely destroyed. And if the U.S. population knew that that was happening, if President Obama appealed and showed what was really happening in Syria, we would rally. The Holocaust Museum...
Do you think public opinion would have changed? Because there appeared to be very little appetite for any kind of military intervention in Syria, absolutely, on the one hand, and also, you know, the country's just coming out of 2 wars. Well, it's come out of 1 war, and it's coming out of another.
So the Holocaust Museum last year had done a survey which said that Americans, when they believe it's a genocide, always want to prevent that genocide. And President Obama himself had said that we were going to have a foreign policy that for the first time in history prevented mass atrocities as a cornerstone of our national security. And then he turned around on Syria and did nothing. You asked about the use of chemical weapons. As I said, the mass atrocities that are being committed on the civilian population in Syria makes that one use of chemical weapons in Damascus look like nothing. That's a serious
you're right,
situation.
because 100,000 people were killed by other means in Syria, and you know, we tend to forget that.
And that's going on.
Right.
So who cares if he gets rid of his chemical weapons when he's continuing to launch barrel bombs on his own population? They just bombed a school just recently. I mean, if you are being targeted and you're being bombed as a civilian, do you care if his chemical weapons are taken away? You don't care by what means you die. And he is slaughtering his own population. That's the problem.
Lori Handrahan, we're going to have to leave it there.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.